And good morning, everyone. Thanks so much, and welcome to the Orange County Convention Center and our press briefing today. We have chosen a different location for this press briefing. We are glad that you could make it here to join us. Today, the mayor will discuss a milestone that we have reached. He will also discuss our goals for the week, the vaccination sites and eligibility. The mayor will also share a reminder to our seniors who need transportation to various vaccination sites. He will discuss the work of our strike teams and more. Dr. Raul Pino was here, of course, to discuss details regarding the vaccination, current infection rates, and additional information. Mayor Dyer could not make it here this morning, but we do believe that Phil Diamond is scheduled to be here. I'm sure he'll be here shortly to discuss information and reveal details on tourist development tax collection. So we will begin this press conference today with Mayor Jerry Demings. We have other esteemed guests that are here with us as well, and the mayor will discuss those in just a minute.
All right, good morning. Welcome to the Orange County Convention Center vaccination site that you're at. We have a lot of information to cover today, but I do want to start by telling you that as we are turning a curve within our community regarding the availability of vaccine inventory, this week, countywide, there will be some 10,000 appointments available in Orange County alone. As you all are well aware that this is a state-run vaccination site, although it is a collaboration between the Florida Department of Health and Orange County primarily, our healthcare workers are helping to work this site along with our Orange County Fire Rescue paramedics. We are approaching the one-year anniversary of my executive order declaring a state of a local emergency for Orange County. The executive order has allowed me to redirect county resources such as personnel, equipment, and material to help combat the pandemic. But I have to say that I couldn't do that without the support of our Orange County commissioners. I know that we have Commissioner Myra Uribe, who is here, and I believe Commissioner Gomez Cordero is here as well. So thank you to our commissioners for your support through this effort. But most importantly, I want to also thank our Orange County employees who have had to pivot from their regular duties to fill support roles at the Emergency Operations Center for the past 360 days. These employees have been the backbone of our response to the pandemic, from setting up testing sites to helping to operate this incredibly efficient vaccination site here at the Convention Center. We generally get nothing but praise for the efficiency of the effort that you see going on behind me here. On Saturday, the 13th of this week, it will be 1 year since I signed the local emergency activation. It has been a challenging year for all of us, but we know things are better with the vaccine getting into the arms of many people. This has been the longest local emergency activation in the Orange County history, but our commitment is really unwavering to keeping our residents safe and informed during the pandemic. I want to commend the employees in all of our departments in Orange County, but I want to highlight those who have been working from human resources to the Orange County Jail, to the Orange County Fire Rescue Department as we continue to pull together to overcome COVID-19. As I do each week, I start with trying to give you the goals for the week. My top goal, again, is to stop the spread of COVID-19 and get as many residents vaccinated as possible as we work to achieve herd immunity. Number two, I want to make sure our qualified residents take advantage of all the places that we have available to get vaccinated. We will continue testing here at this site as well as continue testing at the site at Barnett Park. That, of course, is a site that is managed and operated by Orange County Health Services. And then lastly, we are going to continue holding businesses accountable in this community through the use of our compliance or strike teams. That way that we can ensure the best safety and sanitation practices as outlined by the Centers for Disease Control. The COVID-19 relief bill is well on its way to helping our nation recover from the devastating effects of the pandemic. Regardless of your politics, most Americans are excited about the potential for additional financial help. On Saturday, the United States Senate passed a $1.9 trillion bill which includes stimulus payments for individuals. The relief plan now heads back to the United States House for final congressional approval and should be on the President's desk by the end of the week. The bill is huge in terms of the impact potentially not only of Americans but certainly on Orange County. We stand to receive as much as $251 million in federal recovery dollar assistance. That will go a long way to helping our community to recover. I want to talk about the hard work being done at the vaccination sites here in Orange County, starting right here at the Convention Center, which is one of the busiest sites for getting shots in the arms of our 1.4 million residents. The Department of Health and Orange County Fire Rescue paramedics can vaccinate individuals here consistent with the Health and Human Services guidance set out by the federal government. And so we're going to announce additional individuals who are eligible. Any educator or support staff member, regardless of age, including substitute teachers, bus drivers, and daycare workers with valid ID, can get vaccinated at this site. Firefighters or sworn law enforcement officers of all ages are eligible to get vaccinated here. Healthcare personnel with direct patient contact are eligible. Any person 65 years of age or older and who are long-term care facility residents and their staff can get vaccinated. And some very good news. The Convention Center site can now vaccinate any person who is deemed medically vulnerable by a medical professional. That means having your doctor fill out the Department of Health form that can be found on our website. There are still plenty of appointments open here at the Convention Center. You can go to ocfl.net/vaccine to sign up. Appointments are not necessary at the large-scale FEMA site at the Valencia College West Campus and the Kelly Park site near Apopka. The Valencia FEMA site is open 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The Kelly Park site is a drive-through site open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. through Wednesday of this week. Both locations will also administer shots to the medically vulnerable of any age with the Department of Health completed form. The staff at all of these vaccination sites will tell you the joy that they are seeing from our teachers and others who are getting vaccinated there. Orange County teachers have been on the front lines of the pandemic since their classroom opened to students in September, and President Biden has recognized the sacrifices they have made to keep educating our young people. And now we'll talk about the linked ridership program. Seniors 65 and older who are unable to drive themselves here to the Convention Center or FEMA vaccination sites at Valencia College West may be able to get a free ride simply by calling 311 to find out how to qualify. I know seniors are taking advantage of this great program. Every time I come, I see the Lynx bus with seniors inside ready to get vaccinated. And now, let's talk a little bit more about testing available. This week, spring break begins for college students around the country, including here at our universities in our community. That means college students will be traveling to Central Florida to soak up the sun and take advantage of our attractions. The mask mandate remains in place, and we encourage students to go to Orange County's free testing site at Barnett Park to make sure they aren't spreading the coronavirus. It is open through the end of this month, and it runs from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. 7 days a week. We also have free testing that is run by the state at the Destination Parkway location here at the Convention Center. Testing is still essential and important. It helps us identify cases and contain the virus. We need everyone to pull together in our fight against COVID. For more testing information, you can go to our website at ocfl.net/testing. And now for the numbers. We ask that you note that these are from Saturday through Sunday of yesterday, since the state will provide Sunday's figures this afternoon. Since the start of the pandemic, there have been a reported 116,367 COVID-19 positive cases in Orange County. 1,126 residents have died of the coronavirus within our community. We continue to hold those families of the pandemic victims in our thoughts and prayers. One of our ASLs, you saw an article, Ms. Jillian Kalish, who wrote a moving tribute in the Orlando Sentinel about her father, Mr. Gene Kalish, who passed away on July 24th from COVID-19. So thank you to our ASLs, our American Sign Language interpreters who join us for each one of these press briefings. And finally, let me share a little bit about our compliance or strike teams. They have been making unannounced visits to businesses throughout the county for the past 8 months, while maintaining an extremely high compliance rate of 99% during the normal workday hours. Moving forward, we will be expanding our daily unannounced visits into the early evening hours to inspect those businesses that are not open during normal business hours. The teams will also continue to visit businesses and follow up on establishments that are only open on weekends. They will continue to follow up on any complaints they receive. The teams will visit those who have been given warnings and have yet to comply. And they will be proactive in visiting businesses we have yet to inspect. So far, the compliance teams have inspected over 9,200 businesses and have been impressed with the serious steps owners are taking to ensure the safety of their patrons and employees. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Pino at this time to fill in the blanks and share additional information about the numbers. Dr. Raul Pino.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to go straight to the numbers, as the mayor touched on several issues. So our positivity rate for yesterday is 4.6, continues to be below 5, and the 14 days positivity average rate is 5.5. The total number of doses that has been given in our county, 284,329. Out of those, Orange County residents were 243,969. So to give you an idea of our percentage, the number of residents that have been vaccinated with more than one dosage, or at least one, is 157,047. That is 11% of our total population, and it is 14% of our population when you take out 18 and younger. You remember, 16 and younger are not getting vaccinated, so that's why we did that calculation to give you a better idea. Again, for all population, is 11% of the population have been vaccinated with one doses at least, and if you take 18 and younger, it is 14%. Out of 65 years and older, we have vaccinated 94,692, and that is about 58.7% of our population in that age group. As the mayor mentioned, the mayor has instructed us to expand the opening of this site for people who are medically vulnerable. So we are accepting those forms, and please make the appointments. We have plenty of appointments open, especially for tomorrow. There are appointments, about 1,000 appointments offered for tomorrow. We also will be taking any law enforcement of any age with the proper identification and appointment and the same for our educators and others who work in the school system. I will pass now to Phil Diamond from the Controller's Office, and we'll answer any questions that you have after. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. So for the month of January, TDT tax collections were $7,678,000. That is about a 70% decrease from January of 2020. So unfortunately, for those of you who have been tracking this, that is the first month-over-month decline that we've had in TDT collections since we hit rock bottom in April. This amount is less than we've collected in any pre-pandemic month since September 2004, and it's also less than we've collected in any January since 2002. In short, TDT collections are still at historic low levels, as you'll see in the press release that is being distributed to you. But while January's results were disappointing, they were not completely unexpected due to the surge in COVID-19 cases that we experienced. Also compared to last January, this January, the bowl games were all at below capacity because of COVID. And also this year, as compared to last year, we did not have the Pro Bowl in town. But while we do face many challenges in the short term, there are reasons to be optimistic in the long term. Millions of people have already received vaccines. As you'll see today, many, many more are being vaccinated every single day. And the supply and pace of vaccinations continues to increase by the day. Recently, the President announced there will be enough supply to vaccinate every adult by the end of May, which is earlier than initially anticipated. There have also been very encouraging data and outcomes from populations that have already received the vaccine. And finally, Universal's decision to resume construction of its new theme park, Epic Universe, shows that the business community has confidence and optimism about Orange County's long-term economic outlook. So these are all positive and hopeful signs that we may be getting closer to turning the corner in this pandemic. On the expenditure side, the county continues to use TDT reserves to offset ongoing shortfalls and meet funding obligations. The county has used $128 million in reserves since April. And for the month of January, reserves decreased by $25 million, as shown in the attached TDT cash summary, which you will receive with your press release. The majority of the reserve spending was used to cover the remaining $15 million balance for the construction project at Camping World Stadium. We will have February numbers for you in early April, and I'll be happy to take questions during the question period of this conference. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. That concludes the press part of our briefing this morning. Before we go into Q&A, Mike Seif has the microphone. If you have a question, please sort of raise your hand like you're back in school. Mike will recognize you. Please give your name, the station you're affiliated with, and your question. And we are asking, please, just one question per reporter. Mike is starting on that side. He'll move in this direction. So, Mayor, if you want to come back up, or I guess we'll wait for our first question. Go ahead.
Hey, Bob Hazen from West 2, and for Dr. Pino. You mentioned that we're at about 58% of the 65-plus population that's gotten a shot so far. How high do you think that percentage is going to go? Because there's been a lot of talk about people who are reluctant to get the vaccine. Do you think we're at basically where we're going to be, or is it going to? How high can that go?
In any vaccination efforts, when you reach 50%, everything starts slowing down. Because in the first 50%, you get everyone who really wants it. The other 50% is always composed by those who are thinking about getting it and those who may have decided not to get it. So with that, what I'm trying to say is now gaining a percentage for that group is going to be a lot slower than it was at the beginning. So it will be a crawling to get to the 70 from these 58% for that age group.
could get to 70?
It could get to 70, yes.
Jeff Allen, Spectrum News 13. This is a question for Mayor Demings. Just wondering how you all are able to expand the age limits for those vulnerable, the educators, educative support staff, since the state and the governor have not, they're just keeping it at 65 and up at this point. How are you able to do that since these are technically coming from the state?
Primarily, we're able to expand the eligible group because of the under capacity that we have here at the convention center. Within the last several weeks, this site can easily serve 3,000 people on a daily basis, and we have been coming in at significantly under that number. So we're able to, with the inventory that we're able to get a 3-week snapshot of, we're able to make that expansion. So we don't want to leave any vaccine unused here at this site. And so I think, in addition, there's a significant demand in our community to get vaccinated. And it is my opinion, based upon the advice that I've received from our medical experts, that this really helps us move the needle forward to get to that point of herd immunity. I also want to just remind you all that if we have any Spanish-speaking media here today, we do have the ability to translate, and we have some additional persons who are here that could also respond to questions. We have Mr. Scott Howard from the Orange County Public Schools if there's any questions related to the schools. We have Mr. Mark Tester, the Center Executive Director for the Convention Center here. There's some promising news, I will tell you, going forward about the number of shows, trade shows that we have booked here and the economic impact. He'll be able to share additional information with you. And we also have representatives from our emergency operations support group, Mr. Danny Banks, and our compliance team, Representative Mr. Tim Boldig is here. So any of the questions that you have, just let us know, and we'll make certain that we get you the best answer we can. Yeah. Other questions?
Mayor Ryan Gillespie at the Orlando Sentinel, right in front of you here. I don't know if this is for you or Dr. Pino, probably both. We've gotten a lot of questions from people with the amount of sites that we have now between the federal and the state-run sites, really the differences in criteria and some maybe confusion on who's eligible and who's not at which site. Do you think there needs to be consistent eligibility criteria, or do you have a message for these people who think they're eligible and aren't sure, or how they should be approaching this?
Well, the federally run sites are following the U.S. Health and Human Services Department guidance, and that's essentially what we are mirroring here at this site so that we can alleviate any confusion. So we are consistent in following that HHS guidance. Okay, question.
This question?
Okay, well, sorry.
This question is for Dr. Pino, and this is Soman Machuca from Telemundo. Doctor, if you may ask the question, ask the answer in Spanish. ¿Qué considera usted extremadamente vulnerable? ¿Quiénes son para estar vacunados? Por favor, responde en español.
So the question in Spanish was who we consider extremely vulnerable. I'm going to answer first in English and then move into Spanish. So that's a consideration for the provider and the patient. It's an issue, the relationship between the doctor and the patient. They stay deciding the executive order wisely not to make that definition. Now, the executive order calls for extremely vulnerable, and those are people with complicated health issues. Not that I'm taking away for a controlled diabetes or a controlled high blood pressure, but this is more complicated than that. It speaks to people who are in dialysis, people who are experiencing chemotherapy, people who are immunocompromised or otherwise have complex health issues that may put it at higher risk, even than those with pre-existing conditions. I think that was the intent of the order. En español, la orden realmente no define quiénes son extremadamente vulnerables. Lo que hace es dejar al doctor y al paciente esa relación, determinar cuál es el sentido de la persona y cuáles son los problemas de salud. En nuestra manera de ver la ley, se refiere a people con problemas de salud realmente complicados. Estamos hablando gente que ha tenido trasplante, que está esperando por un trasplante, que tiene problemas de inmunidad, personas que están experimentando quimioterapia, ese tipo de enfermedad. No quita que personas con diabetes o alta presión que están controladas también están a riesgo, pero no son extremadamente vulnerables. Pero de nuevo, es una decisión del doctor a qué personas le proveen esa forma.
Ashley Edlin with Channel 9. My question is for the mayor. You mentioned that the strike teams are going to be expanding into evening hours. When might they be doing that? And is there an area that these strike teams are going to be focusing on? And have these businesses been informed that this is going to happen?
Our strike teams are being deployed today, and they will focus in areas where there are businesses that open up typically in the evening hours, but it doesn't mean that we won't also visit businesses that typically work during the daytime hours. And then they'll focus on areas where we get complaints.
My question, I don't know which one could answer the question, but I appreciate that could be in Spanish, please. My question is, what is the requirement for people that could get the vaccine here? It's because it's maybe so confusing if the people need the Florida ID or don't need it.
¿La quieren en español? So the question in English was, what are the requirements to getting here a vaccination appointment? Let me answer that. It's a good question. It's also in English first. So we have plenty of appointment opens. As the mayor highlighted in his introduction, so we are accepting anyone who is 65 years and older. That category already is open, and the appointments are open for that category. We are also accepting any law enforcement of any age. We are accepting educators of any age within the school system, and not only the teachers, but also cross guard and support staff from the school system and private school, as long as they have the ID that demonstrate that. Healthy Start and other daycare providers, as long as they have an ID. EMS providers are always being open for EMS and firefighters. And in español, Florida ID, yes. They have to be residents of Florida, part-time or full-time. But it doesn't have to be a driver's license. We also take consulate documentation or passport with all the documentation that establish that a person resides in the country. Because, you know, we have a lot of travelers from Puerto Rico that go back and forth between the island and the snowbirds that always come during the winter time. So there are a lot of part-time residents of the state. En español, tenemos suficientes citas, por favor hagan citas, estamos abiertos. Mañana tenemos más de 1,000 citas abiertas para mañana. Estamos aceptando cualquier persona de 65 años o más, el sistema los acepta. Estamos aceptando los maestros y los que trabajan en el sistema de educación, incluso si no son maestros, con el ID. Estamos también aceptando los cross guard, las personas que ayudan a los niños a cruzar la calle. También estamos aceptando cualquier oficial del Departamento de Policía o el sheriff que tengan a cualquier edad, siempre y cuando puedan demostrar que son residentes del estado de la Florida y el lugar de empleo. Estamos aceptando también a todos los proveedores de cuidado para niños. Sí, estamos verificando que las personas residan en la Florida de manera temporal o permanente. Hay varias maneras de corroborar eso. Puede ser la licencia, puede ser el certificado del consulado, puede ser un bill de electricidad o de teléfono que tiene la dirección donde la persona vive. Todo ese tipo de documentación es aceptada.
Laura, News 6 for Mayor Demings. Mayor Demings, I know you had mentioned stressing the importance for spring breakers and people traveling here to get tested. How are you getting the word out to students traveling here from elsewhere?
Well, we're using our traditional media, to help with that. We're also pushing out information through social media, and our website is being used as well. So we are hopeful that the word will get out within our college and university age students. We have provided information to the various institutions here as well. So the question that she asked is, how do we balance the desire to encourage people to come and to patronize our businesses here with safety? What we have put in place here, number one, is a facial covering mandate, which we are holding businesses accountable, and that is through our compliance teams. And then we continue to really operate under an executive order in which we require the social distancing and the other CDC protocols that have been put in place. And so that's the way it looks here in Florida at this point, and the way it looks here within Orange County. We're inviting, but at the same time, we have been able to re-engage and reopen our businesses, but keep them safe and keep our numbers relatively low.
The expanded criteria for the medically vulnerable and educators here, is that just for here, or is that at all the sites in the county?
The question is the designation of being able to serve the medically vulnerable, is that just for here or with all of the sites? And as far as I know, Dr. Pino, that is for all the sites within Orange County, provided that the individual has the signed form of documentation provided by their healthcare provider.
Melissa Thomas here, Florida National News. I'm back here.
Okay.
This is actually a Scott Howard question. This is more for education.
Howard?
So just out of curiosity, given the increase in educators and folks working in the schools getting vaccinated, what has been the feedback that you've been receiving in terms of their excitement or willingness to return to schools now that they are vaccinated?
Very positive. A lot of excitement around being able to get vaccinated. We've sent out quite a bit of information just directing our employees on where they can go and really encouraging them to do it. And it's been very, very positive from our end. So thank you.
Hi, Danielle Pryor, 90.7 News. I just had a quick question about college professors and instructors. I know UCF. I'm back here. Hi, Mayor Demings, back here. Oh. I'm tiny.
I'm sorry. I'm like, I hear the voice. It's coming from somewhere.
Up in the rafters. So I know you guys started to vaccinate UCF professors over the weekend. Will you continue to make the shots available to all of our college and university professors and staff as well?
That is the goal. Any of the educators that have appropriate documentation is to make the vaccinations available to them.
This next question was texted in from Paul Rivera from WESH 2 News. He's inquiring about the demand here, Dr. Pino, at this site, the convention center site for vaccines. So if you could give the landscape of the current demand here at this site.
Well, as vaccines become more available all over the county, as we said at the beginning of these processes, it will follow the same pattern that we see with testing. You know, the same thing that we saw with testing, in the fact that we started first because we have been trained and prepared for this, and as vaccine volume catch up and others get ready to do this, the distribution and the number of sites will increase across the county. That is also having an effect on drawing from the number of appointments here, which is understandable. So that's why I think the mayor may have decided to also open it up. This is a county-run site. All the supports here come from the county, all the infrastructure that you see. So with that, the mayor has the liberty a little bit more to expand on those groups, and that's what just happened. So we would like to increase to all the educators that can provide a proper ID. And the volume has keep about 1,000 a day, but we can do over 3,000. We did that on Saturday, we did that on Friday. We are slated to do a few, over 2,000 today, but we would like to increase those numbers. We have the vaccines, there is need in the community, so we are responding to that.
And I believe you touched on this earlier, Dr. Pino, but what happens with any leftover doses? There's reports that other states will give those to people that are younger than 65. What's the case here?
Yeah, the site is designed in a way that doesn't have any waste. Although at the beginning we did have a waiting line, if you want to call it, for some law enforcement officers that were out in the field at the time that we were closing, but it never went up more than 5 vaccines a day, doses a day. We really have no waste in here.
And lastly, for Mayor Demings, this comes from Ryan Lynch. How does the county expect to split up any new federal funds it receives, business, social needs, et cetera?
Well, we have not made the final plan at this point. We don't want to put the cart before the horse. We will wait on the federal government to approve that, but it will generally follow the same strategy that we used for the previous CARES Act funding that we administered and expended here within our community. That was the final question? Okay. I'm going to ask Mark Tester to come up. I want him to kind of share with you this month is looking really good, and months going forward in terms of the activity here at the Convention Center. And I want him to share with you a little bit about the economic impact from the various shows that were here. And I want to try to balance that out with some of what you heard about the decline for the January revenues. So with that, Mark Tester, the Executive Director from the Orange County Convention Center.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. We did actually have our busiest weekend post-pandemic this weekend at the Convention Center. We had 4 events running concurrently. One is still running, the Sunshine Volleyball Classic, which actually will also run this next weekend. And those 3, we had four events. 3 of them generated room nights for the community. We had the Orlando Boat Show, which was a local event in the West Building. We also had the AAU Volleyball Classic, which had about 9,000 people in attendance, as well as a cheerleading event called the All-Star Challenge, which had about 2,000 people. And the Sunshine Volleyball Classic had 16,000. So all told, they generated 21,000 total estimated room nights for the county, and had an economic impact of $35 million for this past weekend. So certainly our best weekend to date with 4 events, just about 30,000 people at both of our facilities. Our parking lots were really full, a lot of activity, and we continue to see that. One of the first markets to come back is the amateur athletic events, and we have a number of events scheduled for April and May and June. And we really see us in recovery standpoint, and we see a continual additional events. And June is very solid for us. In July, we actually haven't had anything really canceled at this point. So we really are very optimistic about the summer and then the fall for the Convention Center. Thank you.
And I'm happy to say that over time, we've been able to host events here at our Convention Center without any known outbreaks associated with those events. So we know how to do it, and we know how to do it safely. So I'm encouraged that as we move forward with the remainder of the pandemic, that we will see economic recovery occurring. And so with that, I'm going to say thank you. Our next press briefing will be on this Thursday at 4:30 p.m. It will be back at County Administration. Thank you for joining us here today.